Hello. Good to see you again. It's been a while. All right. So, a minute ago, we just finished up a quick Frontiers dev stream. Now, I want to work on Felt Up Circus really quickly. What I'm doing with Felt Up Circus is kind of fun. I'm making the next version of it moddable. And how I'm doing that is I'm taking the already modular approach that I took with Felt Up Circus when building it and just taking it a step further and putting all of the code for individual acts into separate libraries, which will enable, hopefully, players to make their own acts and upload them through Steam Workshop or something. So today, I'm working on getting the Tightrope Walk act sort of converted to this new system. I've got two instances of Unity open here. I've got the main Felt Up Circus project in here, which I recently stripped all of the individual acts out of. Here we have our main circus tent. This is the scene into which I load acts. And before I started monkeying with this latest version, the way that worked was I simply had another scene, called Tightrope Walk or Throwing Knives or whatever, just like this, but in this project, and I would just load the scene additively. Super simple. But what I've done now is I've moved every individual act into its own scene, into its own separate project, along with all the assets for the act, including things like textures and, for instance, this gumball machine has a texture that I use here, which doesn't need to be used in any other part of the project, so I've moved that totally over into this project. And what I do is I export the scene and all of the associated assets as an asset bundle, as well as all of the scripts for this particular act. So I'm going to open up moddable here. All of the scripts for a particular act are kept inside a separate library. All of those files are kept here. So you can see acrobatics, core, interfaces, line tamer, throwing knives, and tightrope walk. So here are the various scripts that the tightrope walk act uses. And once I got sort of a proof of concept working, once I got the process of loading one of these libraries up as an asset bundle, importing it as an assembly, and then loading the scene as an asset bundle and putting that into the circus tent scene. Once I got all that working, I got to work on converting all of the existing act scripts into sort of a format that can be used in this way. There's a really, really horrible limitation to loading a library at runtime and then putting that to use. And the limitation is that you can't load monobehavior scripts in the library at runtime and have them work like normal monobehavior scripts. There are some tricks that allow you to get them to work, like if you just want to load them up and then add them as components after the fact, that's fine. That apparently can work. But if you have monobehavior scripts attached to objects in the scene and those scripts are kept inside of your library. Even if you load the library ahead of time before attempting to load the scene, Unity doesn't know how to resolve those connections because the library, the scripts in the assembly are not kept in its asset library. So it has no idea how to link up the information on the game object to the information to this classes in the assembly. So that kind of blows. I fully expect that at some point in the future, Unity will enable that kind of thing because I mean, if they ever want their engine to be really good for modding, they kind of have to. Because right now, this FTC core library, for instance, this is treated as an asset. And all of these scripts, you know, have their what's it called? Meta content. The word has left me. But they all have their settings. They're all in the asset database. So I'm sure there's some horrible technical limitation preventing Unity from allowing me to bundle this inside of an asset bundle and just use it as an asset. I'm sure there's something. But for now, the only way that I can get this library in is by treating it as basically as a binary blob and then loading it into memory using reflection. So none of that asset database stuff is preserved the way it is for other assets in an asset bundle. In the future, like I said, I gotta imagine they're gonna make it possible. But in the meantime, I figured out a way to get around that. It only really works on a pretty simple project like this one, where you're not having a whole bunch of complex behaviors. But if you're using, okay, this FTC core library is shared among all of my Felt-Tip Circus projects. And in this, we define, you know, basic stuff that shows up in this scene. For instance, the audience system. We define an act. You know, everything in the living room, all that stuff. Everything you need to basically make the game run. Previously, acts worked by extending the act class in the core library here. You would just extend this. So, you know, Lion Tamer would inherit all of this and then add to it. That doesn't work if you're doing things the mod way, but you can attach an act script, like the base act script with all of its basic properties, to an object in one of these scenes in the asset bundle. That will be loaded just fine because this library is shared, so Unity understands what I'm referring to when I put this act script on the game object. And then I have the act create an instance of a non-monobehavior script which inherits from FTC act. So this is just a basic C# class. I'm not inheriting from monobehavior, and thus it's not subject to that same limitation where not being in the asset library is a problem. I can extend this as much as I want, and as long as I specify the right assembly name and class name, I can create an instance of this at runtime after loading that assembly into memory, and I will do whatever I want. So in the case of tightrope walk, here I'm extending the Felt-Tip Circus act class, and I'm overriding the important functions. We've got an act introduction where we set up everything and we get the stage ready for the act to begin. We've got an update function. and we've got a prepare for scoring function where we sort of collect all the data that, about what the player has done over the course of the act and turn it into score information. And then we have, if we need it, a separate update function outside of this coroutine that just goes all the time. And what this mono behavior act script does, after creating an instance of that act, is it just calls those functions. So when we call act setup on this base act class, it goes on to call it on this instance class that it creates. And when we introduce it, it does the same thing. You can start a coroutine on this fella instead of inside of the mono behavior. So similarly, if we have individual objects that have to do, special stuff. For instance, we've got these little catcher things where you toss these gumballs in and they catch it, and if it's the right color, they make a confetti sound or whatever they do. I already forget. This was previously a mono behavior script called Rainbow Catcher, but I can't just attach that script to this object and expect it to work anymore because Rainbow Catcher isn't in the main project, so it wouldn't be able to resolve the connection. So instead, I created something called an FTC behavior class, and all this is, it's really similar to the act script, only even simpler. You give it an assembly name and a class name. On startup, it creates an instance of that kind of class, and then it just passes along the mono behavior functionality. Like on update, it calls script update. On start, it calls start. Super simple. It's just a nice little wrapper. Again, this is pretty inefficient, and if it were a game with like hundreds and hundreds of objects, it would be unforgivably inefficient. But in a little game like this, where you have like 10 or 15 objects per scene, it works fine. So here I specified in the assembly name tightrope walk, then Rainbow Catcher. This is the class that it's going to create. And we'll look at the class here and sort of see. It looks, this used to be a mono behavior. And honestly, very little about it has changed. I'm just inheriting from FTC script now. And the rest of the functionality is pretty much the same. In this case, I'm using a FTC physics behavior, which is just like the FTC behavior, except I add a couple of extra functions like on trigger enter, on trigger exit. Same basic principle though. So it's really not very disruptive, and it didn't take a lot of changes to the code. The one thing that does have to change is that I can't use inspector links to link up objects anymore. I can still do it with the act. I can still set these manually and just drag and drop stuff into these properties, but here I can't do that because these aren't exposed in the editor in the same way. And besides, we're creating this class at runtime. So instead, what I do is I search for it or I load it from resources. So previously, in the earlier versions of this scene, when these are mono behaviors, gumball prefab would be set manually. I just would drag and drop it into this property, but now I load it from resources, and yeah, the catcher light would have been set manually, but now I just do a search for the transform, It's a little bit irritating, and again, in a large scale project, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, but for something like this, it works fine. So I think I have just about everything set up here. Are we all inheriting from FTC act, FTC script, FTC script, FTC script? Yep, yep, yep. Okay, so I'm going to build this, and that will output to our core script / plugins folder here. Let's see. I think I might have, yeah, I have debug stuff turned on. I don't really need that. So what I'm planning to do is to release one of these scenes onto GitHub where everything's set up sort of the way it has to be set up in order for you to create a functional act. You'll have like a dummy act script, which comes with this gizmo to sort of show you where the edges, the borders of the stage are. I'll provide one of these libraries so that if you want to have this basic setup going, you know, all the settings will be correct and everything. And then along with that, I'll include scripts that let you bundle stuff into asset bundles, either with a copy of Unity 5 or through some third-party means, which I haven't done a lot of digging, but I think someone has cracked a way to package up asset bundles without a pro license. Don't quote me on that. Like I said, I'm not sure yet. Okay. So I set this up in a script, so all I have to do is hit build asset bundles, and it'll do two things. It'll locate the library I'm using, ftc dot tightrope walk. It will copy it and rename it to bytes, which is a format that the asset bundle will permit to be bundled. It'll create a single bundle out of that, which I'll show you here, called tightrope walk _ assembly. And once that's done, it'll create an asset bundle with the scene, which will contain all the textures and everything like that under tightrope walk _ scene. Okay, so that's done. So once that's done, I can just copy these into our main asset bundles folder. Yeah, what should happen is it should load the assembly for tightrope walk. If it doesn't, we'll see lots of errors. And then it should immediately after load the scene for tightrope walk. And again, if it doesn't work, we'll see lots of errors. That all happens in the program script. Run act over time. Okay, so you see I've replaced the simple yeah, what should happen is it should load the assembly for tightrope walk. If it doesn't, we'll see lots of errors. And then it should immediately after load the scene for tightrope walk. And again, if it doesn't work, we'll see lots of errors. That all happens in the program script. Run act over time. Okay, so you see I've replaced the simple loading scene with using my act loader here. And all the act loader does is it takes advantage of some functionality that Unity actually provided for loading asset bundles in kind of a safe way. So here I load the assembly first. I can make some assumptions about the assembly name. I load it as a text asset, wait for that to get done, and then once I've got it, I load it as an assembly. Make sure to scream loud if anything goes wrong. And once that's done, I then load the level asset. Easy peasy. Everything should just start. Odds are it won't. Odds are something will go wrong, but that's what I'm working on today. Okay, here we are in our scene. Let me get this set up so you can see. I'll put you over here. This will be the more interesting image since we're not wearing the headset. Okay, I'm gonna hit enter. We're gonna load tightrope walk. Okay, I'm gonna close our VLC. Oh, okay. All right, so here's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. There is an object in this scene that's using a script, which I did not include in this library. I just left it as a mono behavior, just slipped my mind. So as a consequence, you can see here when we tried to load the scene, it didn't know how to resolve it, didn't know what it was or what to do with it. This happens to be a script I'm using for ropes. It's a third-party script, so I don't actually need to include it in this library. What I can do is I can include it in the main project and then include it as a mono behavior script in the tightrope walk project, because that's not something that we're going to want to be able to modify anyway. So that's fine. But let's look at the other things. Okay. Rainbow catcher. Okay. Am I loading the right asset bundle? I think it's loading the wrong asset bundle, because this is the mono behavior version of Rainbow Catcher, not the FTC script version of Rainbow Catcher. All right, I'm going to build these asset bundles again, and this time we'll delete these. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll put all this together along with some instructions, put it on GitHub, and then anyone and everyone will be able to create this set of asset bundles. It's just two files. It creates manifests too, but you don't need to include those. So anyone will be able to create those two files for an act they want to throw into this game and distribute it just as a zip or something. And that includes audio, textures, models, whatever you want. They'll all just work. And okay, we'll copy you, my friend. Yeah, it's all the same thing. And we'll paste you here. At some point, I'll get a script that makes that automatic. Okay. And we're actually working on a new little act. It's going to be a whack-a-mole game. And when I create that, it will be from scratch. Using this system from the bottom up, and I'll release that as an example project so people can see. Well, this is just mighty confusing. Okay, here we have an FTC physics behavior. And here in the asset bundle we're loading. Could this be a cached asset bundle? Because I've loaded this before, you know, when it was in this state. I'm going to attempt to load it with no asset bundle in place and see what happens. Okay, it's not getting it from where I thought it was getting it. I'm gonna nuke that entire folder. It's clearly getting it from a cached version. So this is interesting. Where on earth would Unity keep cached asset bundles? Clean cache? Delete all asset bundle and procedural material content that has been cached by current application. I'm just gonna this is an editor function. Caching class lets you manage cached asset bundles downloaded using load from cache or download, which I use. Delete all asset bundles. All right, that's what I'm going to do. Let's open up our core library here. Act loader. Where are we? I'm sure that's a blended instrument, and there's a cleaner, nicer way to go about cleaning the cache, but for now I'm just going to stick it in there. Okay, now no, I don't want to do that because there might be junk in there. I'll just build them again. That was it? I guess it knows. Okay. Throw that in there. Try this again. Okay. I'm seeing different stuff here. Loading asset bundle assembly, la da 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 da. Start to load scene, tightrope walk. Loading asset bundle, tightrope walk scene. There it is. Okay. There it is. No more mono behavior. We're seeing an FTC physics behavior. And the script, which is this right here, it creates it at runtime. It exists, so that's good. Couldn't get type from class name ftc core.typerope walk. Object reference not set to an. Okay. So it looks like our act is having a little bit of trouble. It wasn't able to get the type from this information for some reason. I wonder why that is. All right. I wonder why I would have trouble getting the assembly name from that. Okay, the namespace is correct. The assembly name is definitely correct. And that should be everything we need. Because I've seen cases where using this method runs into trouble when you're trying to get a type from a different assembly. But I'm qualifying it with the assembly name. So I'm not sure what your problem is, buddy. I don't know, guys. I'm kind of stumped on this one. I suppose that's what I get for moving everything into namespaces. Oh, is my mic and everything working, by the way? Yes, good. We had some technical difficulties in the last stream. Very irritated. Yeah, I just moved everything into namespaces, so it must have something to do with that. I just moved all of these scripts into the tightrope walk namespace, and this guy into the core namespace. What could be the problem? I'm sure it's staring me in the face. If anyone has any ideas, it's working for this guy and not for this guy. I mean, the obvious difference is that the assembly name and the class namespace match up here. I can try making that work. All right. You now are in this namespace, and we are naming you tightrope walk act. just so there's no confusion. Build. And we'll change you. Okay, that is now the class that we'll try to create. We'll just build that and see what happens. Why does anybody bother to play solitaire when you can just do this on a busy window? It's the same basic reward, right? Beep, 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 beep. And you don't have to go through all that troublesome card sorting. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, I'm being ridiculous. All right. Start this up again. Oh, well, we got farther than before. No, I was able to load it this time. Okay, so I'm sure there's some rule I'm just not aware of that prevented me from looking up a class and a namespace that didn't match the assembly name. I don't know. I don't care. This is how we're going to do it from now on. Okay, so we got farther this time. Now we're still seeing null reference exceptions in tightrope walk act dot look for objects, which is here. As I said, because we can't just drag things in the inspector and link up objects the way we could with a normal mono behavior, I've had to move to searching for objects instead, which is fine. Because in a lot of cases I was searching for them anyway. In some cases there's even like a chain where one object has to instantiate and create other objects, which the act then would have to search for later. So this wasn't too much of a switch. But somewhere in here, we're not finding what we need. Oh, and it's not giving me, well, that's less than useful. It's not giving me line numbers, probably because I'm not using a library with debug information. Okay, I can fix that later. All right, until I fix that, tracking down exactly which one of these is causing a problem will be a living nightmare. So instead of trying to do that, I'm just going to keep moving along with this process and converting objects from normal mono behaviors into FTC scripts. Okay, what have we got here? Charge battery. Very good. Let's start converting you. Okay. In a former life, you were a mono behavior. Now you are You're an FTC physics. No, you're not an FTC physics behavior. You're an FTC script. And we're going to use an FTC physics behavior on you. Physics behavior because we're using onTrigger, enter, and exit. Okay, the assembly name is FTC Lion Tamer. And the class name is FTC Lion Tamer charge battery. So this fella is now responsible for creating this script. Got to change these to public override void. And lastly, we can't call getComponent directly. We have to call GameObject getComponent instead. The GameObject is fed to the FTC script. Can I go to, oh, close enough, on startup, on awake. So our FTC physics behavior passes it itself, a GameObject and a transform, so that making calls like getComponent and position and stuff like that, it's relatively easy to convert it. You just call GameObject getComponent, or transform, position. I mean that doesn't even have to change. Stuff like that. Okay. However, some things do have to change. And we see here, we've got a whole bunch of stuff set up in the inspector. So instead of doing that, we're gonna have to search for this stuff. Thankfully, these are all children of the battery object, so it's a simple matter of arc target 1. Again, just trusting that these are there, this wouldn't really fly with a larger project with more complex objects, but with an object with 5 child objects, they're going to be there. It's fine. Okay, what else do we have to set up here? Charge time per shot, we got to make sure that has the setting that we've chosen here. I believe the act might change that per difficulty setting, or maybe not, I don't know. But the default value needs to reflect what we've set in the scene. The party whistle, okay. We're going to have to search the scene for that. I'm going to set that aside for a moment. And finally, charge clip. We are going to move this into resources. Okay, so we'll just be able to load it as a resource, no problem. And then the rest of what we do, we set our positions. We get an audio source from the game object that will be there. That's fine. We get our material from the arc and we set the shared material. Okay, that's good. All right, getting the party whistle is going to be a little bit trickier because the party whistle is also going to be an FTC script. However, there will only be one object named party whistle in the scene. We've got a whole bunch of other party whistle things, but only one thing named just party whistle. So we'll start by getting the party whistle. I'm not even going to check. I'm not even going to do a check. We're just going to assume it's there because it's there. It's in the scene, and this is the only scene in which this object ever appears. Then we're going to get, is it going to be a physics script? I think it will be. We have an update. We have on trigger exit init. Okay, so FTC physics behavior. And the whistle okay. And again, I'm not going to do any error checking. If the whistle has failed to be created by this script, the script is going to raise hell anyway. But this is how you would find another object in the scene and get a party whistle script from it. The one thing that kind of makes me sad to lose is find object of type. I actually found this function really useful in a lot of other places, especially when you knew you only had one object of that type in the scene. So you can't do that anymore because everything is an FTC behavior, FTC physics behavior. Every custom script, that is. So you lose that. But otherwise, this isn't so bad. That took like, what, 2 minutes to convert, and we're done. Let's build it and see how it goes. Okay, what did I do wrong? Cannot override because it is not marked virtual. Oh, this is a different script. Do we have any problems in the charge battery? No, we don't. It's all in the act. Okay, so that's fine. All right, and the rest of the code can stay the same. I don't have to touch it. It'll just update as normal. So next, let's update the chair. I believe this is going to be a physics behavior 2. Yes, because of on-collision enter. I just realized, looking at this, I just realized one thing that I hadn't taken into consideration, which is sending messages. I don't use send message to call this anymore. I actually get the chair object and then just call take hit manually. But there are some cases where, and you can see right here, I use send message. They're rare though. That won't work with an FTC behavior because the function isn't defined in the behavior, and a behavior doesn't know how to listen to a message if it doesn't have the function. So you just can't use send message. Whatever. It's no big loss. Send message sucks anyway. Okay, but in the case of the chair, am I not using core? All right. Change these to game object get component. Anything else need to change? Game object get component. Okay. These get changed to override. That does not change at all. Okay. Now let's look at our chair object and see what kind of things. Oops, did I just move that into the base? Yes, I did. I'm going to move the sound files into resources and give them easy to remember names. Claw clip equals it's crossed my mind to do some other asset bundle stuff to make some of this a little more streamlined. I'm not a huge fan of resources load. All of this is happening basically when the level, immediately after the level gets loaded, so it's okay if there's a hitch. It doesn't have to be efficient. But one way to streamline this a little bit is to give FTC scripts immediate access to the asset bundle from which they were loaded, or to make a third asset bundle which is made up of the actual assets that the scene uses, and then have the scene use that as a have the scene to be dependent on that, have it be a dependency, and then the FTC script could load everything from that bundle. But that starts to get a little overcomplicated, and again, because this is such a small scale thing, I'm comfortable just letting it be a little clunky, but remain straightforward. Okay, what else have we got? We've got hit. Ooh, this is interesting. We've got meshes and materials. Now, materials are no problem at all. Those we can just load in here. Oops. I did the opposite of what I wanted there. Yeah. Okay, so those are all in resources now. And I can just load them into this array. One by one. Oh, I didn't mark these as audio clip. Okay, so that's simple enough. Let me make sure my defaults are set correctly here. 3.25.5. Good, good. All right, now loading meshes. That's a little bit trickier because meshes aren't separate objects. They're part of a model prefab, which is its own thing. I think I'm going to get a little bit sneaky here. How do I want to handle this? How do I want to handle this? I'm thinking about creating 3 objects just hanging out in the scene, which I can search for, each one of which will have a separate mesh filter on it. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Again, this is really clunky, but No one's ever going to see it. So, as we all know, it's not wrong unless somebody sees it. That's how that works, right? Okay. I could probably put these into a static array. So we only have to search for them once, but we only have 3 chairs in the scene, so it doesn't really matter. This is what I'm saying. You know, you don't have to worry about this stuff when there's so little in the scene. Okay. So that's how we're going to populate our chair chair stuff assets. And that's that. We're done. Chair is good. See, this isn't so bad. Cattle prod spark. What the hell is this for? Oh, right. When I zap something, this just takes care of the little zap spark thing. Okay, that's fine. That should be a prefab. Cattle prod spark. There you are. So the first thing we got to do. Why is it lying to me? That is not white. Okay, what are the values here? 173, 68, 0. Will that compile? Yeah, it will. And the start color, this has got to be an HDR color or something. Because it's telling me 255, 255, 255. But I'm seeing cyan. That's no mistake. How do I get a how do I get an HDR color picker here? I mean, seriously. Oh, okay, I see. That the red is 0, not alpha. 0, 255, 255. Got it. 0 red, 255, 255, 255. Okay, that's fine. What is our shrink time? Do we have a shrink time? That's static, so that's fine. Material, light, etc., we set on our own anyway. Load is missing the mesh. That's peculiar. Should be using the sphere. That's fine. Okay. FTC script. Done. That's that. Let's get a FTC behavior on you. What's our cattle prod spark? Good. We'll remove you, and we're done. Okay, let's update the chair while we're at it. FTC physics behavior, chair, We will remove you, and we're done there as well. Okay, charge battery, did I update you? Yes, I did. No, I didn't remove you. You need to be gone. All right, let's do the party whistle. This one might be a little trickier, I'm not sure. Definitely a physics behavior because we got on collision enter, etc. The rest looks fine, but there's a lot of stuff to link up. And I see one thing here. We've got an animation curve. I've already had to deal with animation curves before. And I actually decided to cheat a little bit. I created a script called FTC curves. All it does is store animation curves. That's all it does. Stores them in an array that I can load up later. I could be doing this with stuff like meshes and materials and all that. The only reason I'm not is because I like keeping it clean and simple. I don't want to attach like a billion different mono behaviors to an object with a whole bunch of object references when I can load them from resources. I can't load an animation curve from resources. It's just not possible. So I'm stuck doing this. Now the trick is I'm going to need to create a temporary script that actually copies the curve. I'll just create this and delete it because I don't want to have to create this again by hand. All right, so we'll get the party whistle. Um, we'll just copy the keys over. I'll make sure that this is actually a curve that exists. Save that. And there it is. Copy it over. Okay. Can now remove this. I'll keep that around in case I need to copy another curve. I'll modify it and then I'll delete it before I export the project. All right, so we got a whole bunch of stuff here. Party whistle. Okay, we got a bunch of static stuff. We have the animation, that's fine. Extend curve. Okay. All right, we're not an FTC script yet. All right. Boom. Our extend curve will be loaded from here. That's the first one. Okay, charge time, setting that at 2, intensity multiplier 5. Okay, particles, spark. Now where, oh, it's all the way at the end there, isn't it? I think this is a job for, it's the only particle system in here, right? I think it is. This is charge spark. Where is it? Oh, it's in the battery. Okay, it's not the only particle system in here. All right, and these should not be set to off because I may need to search for these. What is this anyway? Is this the charging light? Charge light. Yes, it is. I need to name it charge light. Charge light and charge spark. Okay. Transform, get components in children. So that will just get all the particle systems in the entire whistle. Okay. What did I just call it? Particles? Bad job, Lars. Bad job naming. Okay, so the particle systems are taken care of. Next, we've got the Spark prefab. That's fine. We'll move that into resources. Okay, whistle mesh. That's just the skinned mesh renderer, right? Yup. Okay. There's only one of those. Get component in children. Good, good. Whistle bones. Oh, God. Right. Do I need these? Let's see if I can be lazy here. Whistle bones animated. Okay, I'm ignoring the collisions between the colliders and the whistle and the handle. Is that what I'm doing? Yeah. Why don't I just ignore... Why don't I just get all the colliders and tell them to ignore collisions with each other? That's easier. I don't need to search for these by name here. That's ridiculous. Okay, forget that. We don't even need that. All we have to do is say collider we'll get all the colliders in the entire whistle. We don't even need to use a get component. There. End collider. Ugh. Okay. Why do I need an end collider? Well, that's fine. I can stomach searching for one thing. All right. End collider equals Whistle 19. It is just a generic collider, isn't it? Yeah, just a generic collider. Okay, good enough. Arc target, that's fine. Those are transforms, right? Yes, they are. Okay, we've already taken care of the charge spark. Now we need the charge light. Okay. Everything else should be fine. Oh, spark clips and whistle clips. Oh. And all these. Okay. I knew this one was going to be nastier. Oh, this is interesting. Wrap audio and whistle audio. We got two audio sources. What's the difference between them? Okay, in the one hand, we have an audio source that plays on a loop. It's the wrapping sound, sort of crinkly, like, and I adjust its volume based on whether or not it's curling or uncurling. So I think the simplest way to do this is to create two game objects. When you have two audio sources on a single game object, it gets kind of annoying trying to search for the right one. So instead of trying to search for the right one, I'm going to put them here instead. I'm going to put them on sub-objects. What are they called? Wrap audio and whistle audio. Okay. That's fine. This is going to be the wrap audio. This will be the whistle audio. Then we'll remove both of you. And then I don't even have to search for this in resources. I can keep that in sounds. Okay. Okay. And then we've got these audio clips. How am I going to deal with these? Okay, the recharge clip is simple enough. I can move that into resources and load that. But all these other ones, ugh. Do I really want to? Oh, I'm almost tempted to make another FTC script called FTC audio clips, just like the curves, and just drop all these in here. That's mighty tempting because I don't want to deal with loading all of these. Wait, there might be a solution to this. Aha. Okay. Resources load all. That's what we'll do. We will put all of these zap clips. And whistle clips into a separate folder, and we'll load them all at once. Easy peasy. Okay, it's actually called Spark Clips and Whistle Clips. Okay, Spark Clips equals resources load all. Now did they? No, there's no need for a slash. And then same deal for that. I believe we're done with the party whistle, are we not? We're not using the animated bones anymore. Oh, power LEDs. Okay, now this is a little bit trickier because they gotta be just the right order too. Thankfully they're named, and okay, this is gonna be big and ugly, but there's no way around it, and that's okay. Only 5. Battery LED 5. These renders or mesh renders? They're just renders. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Not too bad. Power lights. And here we're getting component light. Okay. We got end collider, arc target, charge spark, and charge light. Did we set this? 251, 255. Lit LED color. Where are you? All right. I think that takes care of that. So, OTC physics behavior. And we can remove this now. Goodbye. I don't want to do that yet. Okay, we're getting some warnings here, but no errors. Not in the party whistle script. All right. Gotta change these to override. Okay, now we can't call start code routine from the game object, but we can call it from the behavior. Okay, press down over time is custom. This needs override, override, override. Game object, get component. What is this? Oh, look at this. Okay. Here we're checking for a collision with a chair. Now, yeah, our new way of doing things necessitates a different approach. We're going to chair C is ftcpb script as chair. If that does not equal null, then we get its rigid body, and we do all that stuff. Okay, that's fixed. Not too bad, not too bad. Something I haven't gotten into is how I'm using interfaces for the Newton VR object manipulation scripts to sort of keep it separate from my felt tip circus scripts. I've created a couple of really simple interfaces that let me talk to those scripts without having to know about the scripts, because those scripts have to know about SteamVR, and I don't want SteamVR to be infecting. Pardon me as I refill my drink here. I'm not urinating off screen. Okay. I definitely don't want these libraries to have to know about SteamVR. So that's what I'm doing here. That's what you see whenever you see these interfaces, attached hand and stuff like that. Okay. All right. Got to do override here as well. Oops. All right, so all our errors are confined to the act script, which is expected. Party whistle looks good. Chair, charge battery. Haven't done a lion yet. That's going to be interesting. Cattle prod spark. Lion start button. I think I'm going to go for another 15 minutes on this, and then I have to call it a day. I got to get my butt over to Seattle. But I think I can get this start button done before that. Now, does this require any physics stuff? No. You will just be an FTC behavior. Okay. I replaced this switch with a button in the style of the lion tamers, or the lions as head buttons to make it clear. So I shouldn't need the switch pivot anymore. I'm going to delete that. Okay, there's our power down particles. Yeah, this switch is missing, but right here. But I don't think I need the switch anymore. Do I even refer to it? I do. I still set it, but it's not going to do anything. Okay, so you're gone. Let's change you. We don't need the start position and rotation anymore. No questions so far. Hopefully it's clear what I'm doing. I know I'm sort of zooming along. Okay. Let's move you up here. Power down, I call them. Okay. Spark light. Why am I naming these so inconsistently? We're going to call you spark light. And we're going to call you spark particles. Because that just makes sense. Okay. We don't need the switch. The LED renderer. That would be lion tamer start LED get component renderer. Good. Target light material, la di da di da. These we can move into resources. Why do I not name these what they are? Target light material, target LED material, off. I'm going to rename these while I'm here. There's no reason not to keep these names consistent. Okay. Okay, good enough. Smoke particles. Hey, I named it consistently. All right, that should be everything. No, I missed the LED light, didn't I? That's okay. I'll get you right here. All right, then we got to do our overrides. Okay, we don't need to change that or that. That's it. That's all we need to do. Okay. Oh, I should have done bloody. It's almost worth doing this, just so I don't have to find it. It's an odd way of saving time. I don't know. I always forget about the refactor trick. I only learned it a little while ago, thanks to one of you, and I always forget it. Okay, we need to call behavior, start coroutine, behavior, and game object, get component. All right, looking good. You're gone, goodbye. Okay, another script bites the dust. All right, I don't have much longer. I'm just gonna dive into setting up the act because that's a little more Frankenstein-y and interesting. So we are going to inherit from FTC act. And first thing we got to do is we're no longer setting properties on ourselves. In a lot of cases, we're setting properties on our act. So we have to call act.actFinish instead of actFinish. Pretty simple. Okay, now here we've got, what are we doing here? Oh, I see. We're making sure our whistle doesn't collide with our battery. That's interesting. I forgot about that because it gets so irritating to have the whistle bump into it as you're moving. All right, that's no problem. We can just use game object get component. That should work as before. All of this should work the same. Look for objects is what we're using in place of on enable. That's also where we look for all of our objects. And because acts have to look for a lot more objects than even something like a whistle or a lion or whatever, it's good to put it in a nice, predictable, easily called place where we know there's going to be a hitch. Okay. No suitable method found to override. Is that because of the protection level? Yeah, must be. These are going from protected to public because the parent act has to call them now. That is that it? We can't look for chairs in that way anymore, sadly. This is what I was talking about. This is one of those things I'm gonna miss. Here in the lion script, when we attack, when we claw, we do a quick search for chairs and we check to see if one of them is being held, one or more of them is being held by a player. And if it is, instead of ending the game, it just bites the chair. But you know what? We don't need to search for them. We only need to search for them once, is what I mean to say. We'll put those up there. And then we won't use find objects of type, but we will iterate through the array and check just the same. Only one warning. Yeah, whatever. Okay. So right now, what would happen if we tried to run this act is it wouldn't be able to do anything because I haven't set up the looking for all the objects the way I have with these other scripts. But otherwise, that's all that was required to change it from the old act type to the new act type, because I'm using the same function names. They're just being called by a separate entity. And I just had to, put the act object before making some of these big calls like act finish. So pretty painless, really pretty painless. Um, and the nice thing about that is that I could potentially set it up. See, it can't be loaded, but that's fine. Oh no, we're going to change this to act. Okay. See, and that's nice. Changing it to just the act script, it preserves some of the stuff that we've linked up in the inspector that we can keep, so I don't have to go back and find all those. Of course, we found in the last act that we actually have to rename this to Lion Tamer Act so that we can keep it in the Lion Tamer namespace. So that the act can instantiate it. That should be all that's needed for that. Okay, we did the chairs. We did the button. Haven't done the lines yet. The lines are going to be, oh goodness. Yeah, lines are a little more complicated. Might as well move some of these in preparation. Oh, This is going to take a little while to get all this crap set up. Okay, those are already moved at least. Gotta find the circuit. Do I really need the circuit board? I bet half of these I don't need because I've changed the behavior of the line so many times. The targets property, I bet I don't even refer to it anymore. Circuit board. Yeah, see, none of these are even needed. Don't need circuit board, don't need circuit board rotation. I don't use that anymore. The circuit board on the back of the head used to rotate back and forth, but it was just way too irritating. These guys exist outside of the lion on the lion tamer tracks. Spark rotator, okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to set these up the way I did with this guy, but that's gonna be a long list. So I'm gonna call it a day for now. and call this good. I'm going to call it good. Feeling pretty good about this. The conversion to the new system is going pretty quick. And the next stream, it'll be nice if I can get it set up and working. You saw the you saw the system working, but then you saw a bunch of errors in these startup functions. And until I get libraries exported with proper like debug settings, Unity isn't going to show me error lines, and I don't want to have to search through these line by line. I want it to tell me line 29 is when you screwed up, and then I can fix line 29. So it goes nice and quick. But I should have all that figured out by the next dev stream, and you'll be able to see it load and actually play through one of these acts using asset bundles exclusively, which should be fun. All right, I'll Phantom unboxing. I do have a Vive. I do have a Vive. All caps. I'll hang around for like 30 seconds for last minute questions to come through, just in case, and then I will shut things down. Yes, I do have a Vive, and next time I might even try this thing on the Vive. In the meantime, though, there are lots of Let's Plays of Felt Up Circus out there that you can see. You can check out Lion Tamer and Tightrope Walk if you like. The sunshine is calling to me. That never happens. Usually I just close the curtains angrily and curse the glare. But today I must have a vitamin D deficiency because I really want to get out there and head over to Seattle. All right, calling it good. I will catch you next time. Bye.